Hi guys, good afternoon.
Hello, Xavier. Good afternoon, good morning.
Welcome, by the way. I was telling the team about you now. So, John, I met Parth recently. He has been working on identity, and whenever I speak with somebody that understands the protocols and everything already, like it's a big win. So I hope that we can onboard him to the ecosystem, and let's see in a future if there's synergies between the teams, and if you guys could work together or he can work with us or stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. I think Parth, are you going to be at IAW?
Yes, in April, right?
Yes.
Yes, I will be.
Okay, great.
Hello, guys.
So far, this man met Tony, he met Dave, like he met so many important people from the team. So yeah, that means a lot. Hey, Gonzalo. Let's give the team a couple of minutes to join and the community too, and then we'll get
So
started.
after what 5-10 minutes after the time, it's good to start. John, do you know one thing that is called play to X code?
What text code?
Play to X code. I was checking that up. Like basically, it's a platform, right? That you can design your UI and basically they make all the code of your UI, the UI you designed with assets, image, videos, whatever, and they put everything in code on Xcode.
Like a AI thing?
No, not a AI thing. Like you design it, right? You design the screen that, for example, think like this: you design the screen that you want with animations and everything, right?
Is it like a Figma for mobile or for Swift?
Yes, but one that actually creates the code.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Actually creates the code, and you can use outside data to for that code. So it's pretty awesome. I was reviewing these now, and it's pretty awesome. Look it up. Let me. I can send you the URL probably.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Yes, John. I sent it to you. It works pretty well. I was reviewing it. Works pretty well.
Ah, yes. I know this one.
Yeah, and if you are like me, like we know how to code, but I don't know how to design. It's pretty boring.
Who is
So
not like that in here?
Designing is just not the thing.
I can program the UI, I just can't design it. But
Yeah, indeed. That's me. But even programming, like, it's boring sometimes. So I prefer the data concept of programming than.
Cool, I guess we can get started. So welcome everyone to March 25th community call of 2025. Today, we are going to have a pretty packed agenda. We are going to start by the usual antitrust policy notice presentation, which all the members should adhere and at least read and comply with, and the Hyperledger Code of Conduct, which I'm going to show in the next 2 slides. Then, as usual, we have the 3 sections in the agenda. We have a section with updates, which is going to be really packed. And in case we have extra time, we will review GitHub discussions and take any actions. Before I give the floor to Gonzalo, I want to introduce Parth. We met recently outside of work, like really randomly, and we had a great conversation about identity and about Identus. And I don't know if you want to present yourself in like 2 or 3 minutes before we start, and yeah, say what you expect from the community, what you are trying to build, and all these kind of things.
Sounds good. Thank you, Shabir. Hello, everyone. Parth here. Nice to meet you all, first of all. I have been working in the identity space for 3.5 years, and currently I am exploring how I can build an AI agent which under under the hood leverages decentralized identity protocols and build a layer of agent to agent communication or user to agent communication. So that is something that I'm working on as a side project with me, on my own. So happy to be here and see what are the ways that I can contribute.
Yeah, awesome. It would be great to contribute. Also, I encourage you to talk to other members of the community and also other members of the team to try and see if you find synergies of what you try to build and some other people.
Sure.
So yeah, after that, let's go to, again, as we said, today we have a pretty packed agenda. We have 2 sections, but the first one is probably going to be the most important one. This is going to be the deliverable for the first phase or the first milestone of the Catalyst proposal. And with that, I don't want to bother you anymore. I give the floor to Gonzalo. I don't know if you can try sharing your screen.
Yes. Me.
Let's see if you can. I'm not sure if you will.
Oh, don't tell me I cannot. Yeah, while you are sharing, I cannot.
Okay. Let me stop then.
Okay. No, I can. Yeah. Can you guys see?
Yes, we see your Slack.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So, we are going to talk about the VDR system, technical specification, right? So basically, part of this PI, and we have a catalyst proposal that is about on the VDR system, right? So this would be basically the technical specification of the VDR system, right? Besides this, we will also have an implementation of this specification. Okay. Now, at the start, you can see the authors, contributors, right? How to maintain topics, how to make discussions. There is a repository that I believe is public.
It is public. I've seen it.
Yes. Um, So you can all see, right? This is now in the PR. So this is part of the PR, right? And it tells you how you can contribute as well, right? Cool. So first, it goes through what is a VDR. If you don't know, a VDR, it's a system that enables you to create data, right, and provide that data to other actors, right? And this data is verifiable. So in the case of the verification can be through if it is authenticated by the issuer, right? Or if it was anyhow modified by a different actor, right? So what we did in this specification, we separated in three components, right? The VDR interface itself, right? The drivers that are plugins that will implement the data storage and retrieval logic, right? Also, it will implement everything that it has to be with the proofs, right? So hashes or signatures, whatever it is the case, it's abstract, so you can use anything. And URL managers. URL managers are plugins as well that will enable you to use any type of URL that you want to distribute this information, right? This can be DITs, this can be HTTPS, FTP. It doesn't matter. It's part of the URL manager. They are plugins, and the VDR can basically implement all of them, right? So now, next we have the actors, right? The actors normally are issuers. These are the ones that create the data itself, and they provide the URL to others, right? Holders or verifiers. So they provide the URL. Then we have the holders, right? They are the ones that normally consume, right? The data, the verifiers. This more. So the VDR is to be like very context abstract, right? But the verifiers are a normal consumer on our main context, right? It is for us that is verifiable credentials, right? And then the next actor is the VDR system itself, right? We have here a small diagram on how they work with each other. Now we have in here the problem statement, right? So the key challenges are decentralization, data integrity and authenticity, right? Interoperability and scalability and trustless collaboration, right? This VDR addresses this challenge by consistent and verifiable data operations, integrity verification. We will talk later how we achieve this integrity verification, right? Interoperability through modular components. So basically, the VDR, this specification is made so it's upgradable and I can use multiple components, right? And they can work with each other. Extensible metadata and query registries, right? So we register some paths and queries in this specification, right? But this is extendable, so extensible, so you can extend this. Enters environment for multi-part verification, right? In here we have terminology, right? So I'm not going to go through that. So architectural overview. In here we basically discuss what will be the scope of each module, right? So the VDR interface. The VDR interface basically, the VDR, basically the scope of the VDR is to manage the plugins of drivers and URL managers, right? And connect all of them, right? It also provides some paths that we will see how the URLs are built after, this, we will see how the URLs are built, right? And the VDR also has some handling in that, right? Some logic in that. Then we have the driver interface. The driver interface, basically the driver's components will actually be the ones that are going to store and retrieve the data. And this can be like in memory, of course, in memory is not used, but in memory database, or in our case, a blockchain, right? So the drivers will actually create, retrieve data, and update data, right? From its inherent data storage, let's say, right? Drivers normally have five functions, that is create, update, read, and delete. So CRUD, right? And then they have one more, because there are some when they create or update, right, they always provide an operation result data model that we will see in advance, right, in forward. But the data model has a operation result. So in the case, for example, blockchains, it can take a while for the data to be so the transaction to be verified, right? So until that occurs, like the operation result will be running, right? When it's successful, it means the data is there, right? So you can also check a store result state through this, right? And drivers can also handle mutable data, right? But this is the responsibility of the driver on how they do it, right? It's the responsibility of the driver how they do it, and it's the responsibility of the driver if they cannot handle mutable data, they should provide an error, right? So when the user tries to update, they should provide an error, okay? And then driver family. Driver family is a concept that, let's say we will have multiple platforms, as you know, and let's say we have a Cardano driver, right? And the family of this Cardano driver is Cardano, and this Cardano driver is actually, it has behind locally running a node, okay? So you can create transactions and so on, so on, so on, right? And let's say, for example, in mobile, we have a Cardano driver, but it doesn't run a local node, right? But it's of the same family of Cardano, right? And it can interpret the same URLs, and it can retrieve the same data. But let's say this driver, since it cannot have connection to node, runs on block frost and gets the block because the URL might have the information of the block and the transaction, right? At that point, you can access the data through block frost, for example, any other point. So the family basically means with the same URL, you can retrieve the same data. Okay, and normally the families will have inherent specification. Okay, here is a more explanation, right? And the example I just gave. Now, URL managers are basically plugins as well, but they will create and resolve URLs, right? This is to make it abstract to any type of URL. Let's say you want to use HTTPS, right? You can use HTTPS for your URLs. Let's say you want to use a deep link URL. You can use it as well. Let's say you want to use a DIT. You can use a DIT as well, right? The URL managers need to create and resolve the URLs, right? It doesn't matter what type of URL it is. Okay. Now, we have in here some logic on data mutability, right? The first one is we register a flag, a query on the URLs that is M, right? This is a Boolean, so 0 or 1, right? When it's 0, it means it's not modifiable, right? So this is to give the information to the URL if the data is modifiable or not, okay? So if there is an M with 0, right? And M, like this query should always be there, okay? If it is an M with 0, it means the data is never modifiable. If it is with 1, it means it can be modifiable, okay? So more in advance, we explain how we can verify the integrity and authentify, for example, when there is mutable data, right? So when the data is immutable, you can have as simple as a SHA-256 as part of the URL, and the user, when receives the data, he can check the integrity of the data. It can be as simple as this, or through a signature, right? You can also have, instead of a SHA-256, you can have a signature as part of the URL, and the user can check the signature, right? In the case of mutable data proofs, right? We made it quite abstract in this case. So you can provide a proof type, right? That is a string that is called, what is a proof type? And you can say like EDDSA with SHA-256, RSA with SHA-256, so on, so on. Whatever it is, the type that you want of the proof, right? That the driver provides of the proof. You can add the type, right? It can be a W3C proof, right? And the proof will come as an array of bytes, right? So then you already know what is the context by the type, and you just need to convert for what it is and check if the proof passes with the data that you received. Okay. Now, driver will have the responsibilities for improved generation, right? So the responsibilities in proof generation, as you've seen here, the proof will have type. It can optionally return the data as well, right? And it will have the proof. Okay. This is a different operation than the read. This is the verify operation. Okay. So the VDR also has a verify operation that it can run with the drivers. Okay. Again, if the drivers don't accept this or don't support this, they need to throw an error upon usage. Okay. Now, I have in here a bit of data flow by task, right? What needs to happen. I will not go through these, I think, for now, because you guys can read of these on your own time. I think it will be a good of our time. I just want to go through this one, the verify data, right? So in the case of mutable data, right, we might need to sorry, to verify with the other function if the data is authentic from the issuer, right? And for that reason, we use this function, right? So in the case of mutable data, it's preferred to go through this function than through the read function. Okay. Now we have data models, right? And in here I also show how the URLs will be formatted. Okay. So first, any type of URL, so HTTP or DITS or whatever, it doesn't matter. After that, all the URLs will have a path, right? And the path will always start with the driver family, followed by the driver that created the data, the driver identifier, and the driver version. Okay, and then the driver the driver of the issuer can add their own custom paths. They can add the custom paths, they can add the custom queries, and they can add a fragment. Okay. The driver and the issuer can add all they need so they can retrieve the data in a later date. Okay. So here's a few examples. For example, with HTTP, example IO, then family, the Cardano driver, and the version. As you see, is not mutable data, right? Now you have here with the DID, for example, but with the example I was saying, for example, in here, we have a DID, right? So it can be resolved. Family, driver identifier, version, right? And in here, you can see these are hash, right? Is also registered. We will see what are the queries registered after. It is the hash. We have it's not mutable. So from here you can see it's not mutable and there's a hash. I can with the URL get the data and verify the integrity of the data immediately, the user. I don't need to ask for any other type of proof. Then you have in here, I'm showing the concept of custom queries, right? Let's say the Cardano node gives a block slot and a block hash, right? So from this point on, you can get the block that you require, right? FTTP URL, right? Here's an example. Same as the one before. Another one with a deed, but now we have a digital signature. So this is also a registered query, right? And as you can see, this is modifiable data, and the signature will always come with SCDSA with SHA-256, right? So this is the type of this signature, right? A very important concept in here is, let's say this data is modifiable, right? But it doesn't mean the data was modified already. So if the user gets the data, the other verifier gets the data, it checks the data. If this first initial signature fails, then the user can retrieve the new data. Okay, they can retrieve the new data and the new proof with the data. Okay, so this is a good concept that is also enabled by the VDR specification, right? We have also in here with multiple services, and in here it's an example of using did difference, right? And here we have also another HTTP, but down with the custom path, let's say record one. As you see, it always the custom paths always come after the driver family, driver identifier, and the driver version. Okay. Now here are the registered query parameters, right? H is hash, is a SHA-256 hash, right? S is signature, PT is proof type, right? And mutable, right? Now we also have a metadata registry, right? So we can pass metadata to the to the VDR, right? When we are creating data or updating data, and but these are the registered metadata that is already on the specification. One is DRIT, right? So you can pick up a driver. You can pick up a driver version if you have multiple drivers with the same identifier, but with different versions, right? If you have multiple URL managers, you can also pick up a URL or a URL type. A URL type, imagine that you have a URL that the type is DIT prism, right? So you want to pick up one of the URLs that can create a DIT prism, right? And then to pass if the data is mutable or not. Okay. Here is the operation result data model, right? It has an identifier, a state, paths, queries, fragments, and public keys. Why this is important, right? So basically the driver will provide the custom paths, custom queries, custom fragment, and the public keys, okay? The URL manager will build a URL, right? and we'll add this custom data that is provided by the driver. Okay. Now I have in here a simple explanation: what is a proof, how we can add a proof, types of proofs, what is the data, right? It also explains that, for example, you can use Merkle proofs if you really desire, right? You have the type of Merkle proofs and you can use it, right? This is not on the scope of the VDR, right? It's the scope of the driver itself. Also the explanation of error handling, right? And the future milestones. So this is explaining that on the next milestones, we'll create actually the implementation of the VDR, we'll create a database driver and the Prism did URL manager plugin, right? And then we'll also integrate with the cloud agent, this VDR, right? And the milestone 3, it's actually already in the works. It's going to be a Cardano blockchain driver. So this will enable us to actually create and read data from the Cardano blockchain. Yes, and then some security considerations, right? How to protect keys and so on and so on. And the conclusion. I guess that's all then. I will go for questions now.
Well, before the questions, I want to take two steps back and like appreciate the great work that the team has done on this VDR initiative. And yeah, everyone in this room knows how difficult it's been for us to do the Catalyst proposal. Now here's the Catalyst proposal. We are doing progress. Let's deliver the Catalyst proposal. So yeah, congratulations everyone that pushed for this.
Yep, indeed.
One thing that I wanted to ask, maybe Gonzalo, if I may, and it's just for understanding, it popped up now.
Mhm.
The same file could be available on different URLs, right?
The same file could be available in different URLs. What do you mean by that?
That you could fetch the same file using different URLs.
Well, yes, you can. It's totally possible.
Okay.
It's possible, but the main thing is being able to, with one URL, fetching the same file from multiple sources.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have.
So what
excuse- I-
happening later? Sorry.
oh no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying that we have Pat, and I wanted to say hello to Pat.
Hello.
Hey, Pat.
Hey, everyone.
Gonzalo, this is great. I'll definitely have to go through this some more. And I bring up this question not fully formed yet, so this is probably a better question to raise after I've been through this in detail. But in terms of the URL structure, I'm just, I guess, wondering, is there any inspiration we can draw from existing did web methods? Well, I know it's a different domain, but for example, the hash and things like that, like there are did web methods like did skid and things like that, which sort of try to incorporate, or did web VH, which try to incorporate like the hash in the URL itself with, fragments. There's just a whole lot of thought already around how to like pack good information into URLs like this. Again, I know it's for different use cases, but I'm just wondering if it might be useful to look around at those and see if
Can you give me the link? I can
Yeah.
probably give a look, right?
yeah. Again, it's for different things, but I just want to make sure we're not reinventing the wheel here.
Yeah, no, but give me the link and I can review all the fulfill the URL part. Right?
Yeah, I just sent one, but I can send it to you later too.
Okay, cool. Any more questions?
Yeah, this might sound obvious, but I just want to clarify. Is this for any type of data, not just storing bits on chain and retrieving them, on different parts? Like, is this like supposed to allow us to use basically Cardano or any other, type of storage, to store arbitrary data, or
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Any type of data.
Yes, but blockchains are not databases. That's why I tried to raise my hand.
Okay,
So
Yeah.
that's
you can
except that's why I asked, basically. So we do. Okay, so this is like an interface to store verifiable data. Doesn't really require a blockchain. It kind of provides all the pieces so you can run a private one or whatever it is. But we do start with a Cardano driver. So what's the intended use case for this first approach for the Cardano driver, for example?
So
Considering that the blockchains are not databases in the sense like Javi said, for example.
yes, so blockchains are not databases, right? But what Javi also means, like you cannot, for example, Cardano has a very limited size of data that you can put on a transaction.
Right.
So, but with that in mind, there are specific things that we can use Cardano blockchain that are very useful for us. So, as an example, revocation lists, right?
Right. Okay.
They are not very big. They can be added on the blockchain, right? And they can be updated.
Mm.
And verifiers or others can get that and verify the data itself, right? Verify
Right.
that they are receiving is true.
Also, what I said, don't get it very strict, because at the end Cardano has metadata, and that builds a database of metadata. So it is really a database. But what I'm trying to say is that I do not want to give the assumption or recognize that this could be used to store big files or things that are unrelated to the purpose of the VDR. So we
Right. But
Actually,
it could be used to
right?
store proof of those big files.
Yes, the proof,
Right.
exactly. But actually, you can create a driver for the what Fabio is here, right? What is that that network that works?
IPFS.
Yes, you can create a driver for IPFS, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it can work with that. Like there is like you can create a driver for that, and it will work with that, right? So
People can use it in that way, but what I wanted to make sure is that people understand why we created this VDR. And if you
yeah,
think the past 2 or 3 years, you see that for some specific components like credential schemas and credential definitions for uncreds, revocation registries, and other things related, like very similar to those, we were having centralized databases, which is not the end of the world. That there is some use cases that may work with the VDR database driver, and that would be okay. But some of the things that we were kind of missing is we do not have a decentralized way of knowing if a credential has been revoked, which
yes,
basically means that I do not no longer need an endpoint to tell me if something is revoked, but I can check it myself with my own API keys or my own access to a node or whatever it is. But this bridges the gap between decentralization and identity, and yeah, it is a solid foundation for anything related to credentials.
yes. But bear in mind one thing, right? Although we abstract the context of the VDR, our main use case will be the verifiable credentials. Okay. So this means we will probably use the VDR to to add unknown creds, what is called the
Schemas and definitions.
yes, unknown creds definitions, credential schemas, and so on, right? So we will probably use the VDR for that. But this is basically a specification, right, that enables the creating the VDR for multiple contexts, multiple use cases, and we don't know also what the future holds, right? So this is future proof as well. In that sense.
Right. And is there any overlap with Midnight?
No.
Nope.
No. Okay.
No.
So,
but it is, as I said, right? Drivers can be built for Midnight itself, right?
right.
You can even use other blockchains, right? I mean, the drivers are abstract. You can even use other blockchains. It doesn't matter. The important part is the concepts around it, right? And to be able, one very important concept I define in here is the driver family, right? The driver family is very important because, for example, mobile will not be able to access, or web will not be able to access the same environment that a server has, right? So to access this data, right, they will probably need to use different APIs to achieve that.
Gonzalo, to write all the things browser related, it's just zip30, right? Just create transaction and submit transaction.
Sorry?
That for all the DID related operations, like to write stuff and so on, we will just use either a node that is able to write that transaction, or we are going to be using a web wallet.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? It doesn't matter. Like, that's why the driver family is important, right? Because drivers that have the same family, although they can run in completely different logics, they can have completely different implementations, they need to be able to retrieve data with the same URL, the same data.
Yeah,
And the
one other thing that I wanted to ask, well, I maybe know, but I wanted to just try the conversation. And it just blew away. It will come back.
But yeah, for example, for example, I built some time ago like a Swift implementation of Ouroboros, right? So I can connect with the node. That's why I was thinking of this, right? You put the URLs, right? So I was thinking on this, right? This is like a BT is like a transaction hash, right? And the block slot and the block hash, right? So as I have an implementation of Swift or Ouroboros, I can connect on a mobile phone with any node, get the block from this URL, right? Get the block from this URL, get let's say these queries in here. I can get the hash from it, and I'm done. I can basically get the data without using block first.
So, okay. So you could, in theory, you could resolve a DID with the self driver, right?
Yeah, you can
like directly
driver.
from directly from an edge client.
Yeah,
That's in the mental plan for sure. We are not there yet.
yeah,
Right.
that is
okay. but that's why my mind is going there.
Is not public. First, that is not
Right.
public, my implementation, but yeah, in theory,
my mind goes directly there. Like you have an edge client and just the URL with the verifier parts, and whoever runs that, DID or the DID result itself, right? You get the data and you can verify that data.
Yes.
locally, without the infrastructure. Okay, that's amazing. Yeah, awesome.
That
That
you
is
know, this
Without
offline,
running a full node.
all,
yeah,
all
yeah,
this
yeah,
first,
exactly.
all this offline first approach was like a snowball, and we started thinking on, okay, if we build an offline first approach, we cannot have an endpoint doing that. Then what do we need to not need an endpoint? The VDR.
Right.
And the question I wanted to make earlier is, and again, I kind of know it, but I want to just drive the discussion and share the knowledge. But will this replace the Prism node at any point? And what's our vision behind that?
It could, for example, no, we cannot. On the Prism is a bit difficult, right? Because let's say that the URLs are not updatable in itself, right? What the Prism node does is, like with these, to resolve a deed, right? You would get to the first version of the deed, right? But you would not get the updated version of the deed if that happens in the future.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
Right. So probably that is right. That is why for this is very important for not mutable data, right? Not mutable data is very easy to get with this concept, right? And check if it is actually the data that you want.
Okay, so that's interesting. So not mutable data, it's like the perfect use case where everything works without any extra effort. The moment you have mutable data, are you in this protocol, are you linking the signatures of previous version on the new ones or something like that? Like you can ensure, trace back to the original with whatever version you're running. Is that possible with this?
Tell me again.
The same way a blockchain works, you can go back each block. Is this the same for the versioning of this data, of the mutable data? Let's say you have three versions of a file that have been, or a reject list or whatever. You're looking at the last one, and you have a previous version, and you want to verify that the chain of that version are tied together in some way. Like, are the signatures of each version advancing, passing to the next one, basically, so you can kind of trace back to the original version or whatever point you are looking at and verify, oh yeah, this comes from the thing that I'm looking at, not from a different source.
I think it's the other way around. So this comes from the original source, and you would need to look forward to get
the okay, but the effect is the same, that you get from version 1 and move forward in the chain, but each new version will be basically linked to the previous one in some way, with hashes or signatures or whatever, right?
Well, depends. That's how the driver implements this, right? So Fabio could probably explain better how we are going to do the Cardano driver, right? He basically had a good idea that to use the same as you do for the Prism deed modification, right? It's the same concept, but now for data. So Fabio I don't know if Fabio is here today. I cannot see.
He's here in presence, at least.
He's here. So probably you can say more about it, right? Or later in point.
As far as I know, Gonzalo, we are basically reusing the same or extending the protos that we had for Prism deed operations. We are adding in maybe Fabio can correct me if I'm wrong, but we are adding a new operation type, which will be to update the files, and it will work in the same way that you update Prism deed keys with an update operation, basically.
Yeah. It should be the
so it is traceable back to the origin then.
Yes, it's traceable, but not in the signature itself. Like still the Merkle paths, you would need to iterate on the blockchain and verify every single step, right?
It's traceable because the deed itself is the same. right? The short form did is the same. The long form did is not.
Even
Okay, so it shares the signatures of the origin date of
yeah,
the date that's being
Yes.
used. Okay, so yeah, so that's how it's anchored to that date. So it's every version will be traceable back to that origin date.
Yeah.
yes, but not in the URL. In the URL, we will not have the whole Merkle path.
Yeah.
Correct.
That's a,
Okay. All right. This
Cool.
sounds great. I love it.
Yeah, really great job, guys.
by the way, if you guys want to start checking out, right? As part of this, we also have some code. Okay. With the interfaces, right? The drivers, the URL manager. We already have a in-memory driver, so you can see
Well,
how it
How are
works.
you? How are you after doing Kotlin, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was small, so I could handle it. I survived. So, but yeah, you have in here already so a few examples, right? An example how it would work, like with URL managers and stuff, right? And you have also some tests, so you can see, you can check it. But yeah, this is how we intend to go forward now.
That is awesome.
Awesome.
Any more questions on this? I will share the PR.
So basically about the timeline for this, is this going into a future release? How, what are we looking at in
You
terms of?
Gonzalo, well, I'm not sure if you guys have the links, but I'm going to share the links for the milestones of the Catalyst proposal.
I can stop sharing. You can go.
Yeah, okay. That sounds
But
like
in a sense, we have the milestones, like that the Ravi is showing, right?
Yep.
The second milestone. So this milestone was a specification, right? This is what we are finalizing right now. Then the second
Yeah.
milestone will be what I
Hold
explained in
hold
the
on,
specification.
hold on. Before we finish, I want to make sure that the whole community understands that, yeah, what we are delivering is the public version of the VDR specification, which is what Gonzalo just presented on GitHub. We are presenting the weekly community call, which is the second deliverable. The third deliverable is organizing a workshop with the Linux Foundation, and the Linux Foundation has already been contacted. I think that we just need to sync up and decide when can we run that workshop. And each of the proposals, like I tried to be very specific, and I actually got some of them rejected, and I had to add a little bit more details. So it is pretty accurate, and you guys can see the whole milestone and when we plan to deliver stuff and so on. We also took a very conservative approach. This doesn't mean that we cannot do it earlier, but we took the conservative approach, understanding that there is other things in the plate, and we wanted to make sure that just in case the VDR got granted, that it doesn't mean that everything else stops. So we are delivering by the end of the year the full VDR specification, the implementation of the drivers, documentation.
Yeah, but by milestone 3, we should already be able to do everything.
Yep.
Okay. Milestone 4 is like wrapping up, documentation, testing, workshops, whatever. But milestone 3, we should already be doing everything. Milestone 2 is basically integration with the cloud agent, right? So we'll integrate, we'll create, as I said, a database driver. So it's not going to be a blockchain driver, but we're going to database driver, a Prism did URL manager. So these are plugins that we are going to create by our own, right? And then we'll create as well the Cardano driver that will integrate with with our own as well, with the cloud agent. So from this point on, we will be good to this stuff, right? And these will be things that you can run without running the cloud agent, right? So you can run this code by yourself.
Also see that we've been like very polite and very fair. We are asking for a 30% on the 85% completion. So yeah, it's everything looks good. It looks like a great opportunity for us to be noisy and to make a statement that we are here to make noise and we deliver stuff. And this is a great improvement. And again, in the 3 years, we've always been discussing around having this centralized database and all these kind of things that nobody likes. But at some point, somebody had to stop and bring a solution for those. And I think that by the end of the year, so I would be personally very proud or satisfied if by the end of the year we can achieve the VDR and the offline first solution, because that means that anyone in Cardano can run a decentralized identity solution. And not just the offline first, but this enables every other component, even the cloud agent, to run decentralized identity solution and decentralized verification, which is great. And again, in my opinion, this is like closing the gap that we had. And later on, it will be more on building solutions or trying to ideate what we can build with this ecosystem that we've been working on. But so far, some of the things that we wanted to build could not be built with the current ecosystem that we had, and this is a great improvement. So again, I reiterate again the great work that you guys did. So thank you, Fabio and Yuri, for that. And yeah, that's pretty much it. We were already envisioning that we were going to fill in the whole hour, so we are not going to delay the meeting for much longer. The thing that we wanted to talk about, and I'm not going to talk about it, but I just want to introduce you guys to the topic and leave you thinking the whole week until next Tuesday. But yeah, we were thinking earlier on the SDK currently can only connect to one single mediator at the same time. And Curtis and myself have been working on an idea that allows an agent to connect to multiple mediators at the same time. I was envisioning at the beginning that it would be like a failover functionality, while Curtis was envisioning that as a user, I need to have the freedom of doing whatever I want with the mediators, and we should be flexible enough to support that. But there is a lot of nuances, so we will probably need like half an hour next Tuesday to talk about the intrinsic details that this decision would mean, and some discussions that the team already had, which will help driving a decision. First of all, what we want to make sure is that we see it as something valuable for the ecosystem as a community. And if not, we are probably not going to prioritize it, but I would like us to give it an opportunity, at least for the things that we said. I think it is interesting to have the ability to connect to different mediators, just because, and also the offline first approach. But again, we are not going to solve that now, neither next week. Next week, we just bring the discussion to the plate and we talk about it. Make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a critical feature, just because you could have an identity on different, going through different mediators because you use, let's say, different services. And currently with the SDK, like you said, you can connect only to one. So there's no way to really have more than one use case on the wallet right now if they are running on different bits through different mediators. So yeah. I definitely think that is a very, very, very good addition to the SDK. So
Yes,
Um,
but when I start telling you next week about the kind of problems and side effects that this has, then maybe you
right.
stop thinking about it.
I mean, I've been thinking about that, and one way that to achieve it is to sort of start the first connection whenever you are resolving an invite. You start the first connection, and that could go anywhere, right? And then rotate your DID towards your current mediator.
That is
Yes.
the end of the line. That's what Gonzalo
Uh,
proposed.
That's what I
Yeah.
propose.
Yeah.
Okay, because that, I mean, that makes sense because that solves a lot of problems and it still allows you to do different connections. And the mediators really don't, quote, don't matter in the sense of who's running it or whatever. It's an abstraction of an endpoint to connect and receive whole data, right? So, but it's important to, so it makes the wallet manage a single connection most of the time. And when it needs to start a new connection, okay, you can go do that dance and then say, right, we connected, great. Now this is my preferred way to reach me. Here you go, and let's update the keys and now talk to me through this. And the other end could do the same, whatever. But that, I think that I've been thinking a little bit about this, and that is my conclusion, and I will try to push that case. I'm glad that Gonzalo also thinks the same. Could be wrong, but that is, I think,
it
one of the
also
simplest implementations that could make this work.
correct.
But be aware of one thing: the platform needs to be aware of that. So, for example, the SDKs right now are
Correct.
not aware of that. Neither is the cloud agent. So, if you do the rotation in both platforms, they will not take notice and they will not do anything.
Yeah, and I think I added that discussion a while ago, actually at the last IIW, because we talked with Sam, the guy behind the DID protocol, and he was talking about the DID rotation protocol and all that. So there is a spec to do that. So maybe we just implement it in the SDK and in Cloud Agent, and just try it. I
It's part
would
of
like
the
to participate there. Yeah.
it's part of the DITCOM spec.
Yeah. It's now officially, yeah, it's part of that. So yeah, I feel like DID rotation and then kind of switching to the preferred mediator after a new connection. I have a hunch that it's some of the simplest way to, quote, support multiple mediators without really going all the way of handling different mediators at the same time. That's really what's complicated.
Yes, Roberto,
Anyways.
but it also requires you to keep state and track of who you connected with at any point in time. And what I'm trying to say is that not so simple as we envision. That's why Curtis and myself, instead of delivering that in 2 days, we decided to stop and get some help
And
from
have a,
and then get it into the community and have an open discussion about it. I think in the following month we should start having diagrams and examples and stuff like that, and at some point this will be ready to be implemented or not, but at least specified.
yeah, awesome. Well, I'll be thinking about this all week, so I'll be prepared for our meeting next week.
I'm glad I did that effect on you. Awesome, guys. So yeah, we already passed the hour, so I thank every single of you for assisting, and yeah, I leave you thinking about this, establishing multiple mediator connections at the same time, and let's talk about it next week on Tuesday. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Cool.
See you
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.